business. Okay. Maybe.
The itching of the skin above his ankle, the blaring of the music, and a slight booziness caused by the gin. Suddenly, he began writing in sheer panic, only imperfectly aware of what he was setting down. His small but childish handwriting straggled up and down the page, shedding first its capital letters, and finally, even its full stops. April 4th, 1984. Last night to the flicks.
That reminds me of a book by
All
George
war
Orwell.
films. One very good one of a ship full of refugees being bombed somewhere in the Mediterranean. Audience much amused by shots of a great huge fat man trying to swim away with a helicopter after him. First you saw him wallowing along in the water like a porpoise. Then you saw him through the helicopter's gun sights. Then he was full of holes, and the sea round him turned pink.
That's why he was
And he sank as suddenly as though the holes had let in the water. Audience shouting with laughter when he sank. Then you saw a lifeboat full of children with a helicopter hovering over it. There was a middle-aged woman, might have been a Jewess, sitting up in the bow with a little boy about 3 years old in her arms. Little boy screaming with fright and hiding his head between her breasts as if he was trying to burrow right into her, and the woman putting her arms round him and comforting him, although she was blue with fright herself, all the time covering him up as much as possible, as if she thought her arms could keep the bullets off him. Then the helicopter planted a 20-kilo bomb in among them, terrific flash, and the boat went all to matchwood. Then there was a wonderful shot of a child's arm going up, 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 right up into the air. A helicopter with a camera in its nose must have followed it up, and there was a lot of applause from the party seats. But a woman down in the prole part of the house suddenly started kicking up a fuss and shouting they didn't ought to have showed it, not in front of kids. They didn't. It ain't right, not in front of kids. It ain't until the police turned her out. I don't suppose anything happened to her. Nobody cares what the proles say. Typical prole reaction. They never... Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish. But the curious thing was that while he was doing so, a totally different memory had clarified itself in his mind, to the point where he almost felt equal to writing it down. It was, he now realized, because of this other incident, that he had suddenly decided to come home and begin the diary today. It had happened that morning at the ministry, if anything so nebulous could be said to happen. It was nearly 1100, and in the records department, where Winston worked, they were dragging the chairs out of the cubicles and grouping them in the center of the hall opposite the big telescreen, in preparation for the 2 minutes hate. Winston was just taking his place in one of the middle rows when two people whom he knew by sight, but had never spoken to, came unexpectedly into the room. One of them was a girl whom he often passed in the corridors. He did not know her name, but he knew that she worked in the fiction department. Presumably, since he had sometimes seen her with oily hands and carrying a spanner, she had some mechanical job on one of the novel-writing machines. She was a bold-looking girl, of about 27, with thick hair, a freckled face, and swift, athletic movements. A narrow scarlet sash, emblem of the Junior Anti-Sex League, was wound several times round the waist of her overalls, just tightly enough to bring out the shapeliness of her hips. Winston had disliked her from the very first moment of seeing her. He knew the reason. It was because of the atmosphere of hockey fields and cold baths and community hikes and general clean-mindedness which she managed to carry about with her. He disliked nearly all women, and especially the young and pretty ones. It was always the women, and above all the young ones, who were the most bigoted adherents of the party, the swallowers of slogans, the amateur spies and noses out of unorthodoxy. But this particular girl gave him the impression of being more dangerous than most. Once, when they passed in the corridor, she gave him a quick sidelong glance which seemed to pierce right into him, and for a moment had filled him with black terror. The idea had even crossed his mind that she might be an agent of the Thought Police.
Really?
Feels like it.
That, it was true, was very unlikely. Still, he continued to feel a peculiar uneasiness, which had fear mixed up in it, as well as hostility, whenever she was anywhere near him. The other person was a man named O'Brien, a member of the inner party and holder of some post so important and remote that Winston had only a dim idea of its nature.
Smart.
A momentary hush passed over the
right next
group
to
of
the
people
mic,
around
literally
the chairs
inches
as
from
they
it.
saw the black overalls of an inner party member approaching. O'Brien was a large, burly man with a thick neck and a coarse, humorous, brutal face. In spite of his formidable appearance, he had a certain charm of manner. He had a trick of resettling his spectacles on his nose, which was curiously disarming. In some indefinable way, curiously civilized. It was a gesture which, if anyone had still thought in such terms, might have recalled an 18th century nobleman offering his snuff box.
I see what you mean with that.
Winston had
Oh
seen
my
it
God.
done perhaps a dozen times in
Yeah, now I can
almost
hit
as many
pause, I will.
years.
There we go. Like, wonderful.
He felt deeply drawn to him, and not solely because he was intrigued by the contrast between O'Brien's urbane manner and his prize fighter's physique.
It's funny. The funny thing is,
Much
I have
more,
a new one. And I
it
just
was
haven't
because of a secretly
bothered to
held
switch
belief,
it out.
or perhaps not even a belief,
It's only
that
like
the
4 feet.
that O'Brien's political orthodoxy was not perfect. Something in his face suggested it irresistibly. And again, perhaps it was not even unorthodoxy that was written in his face, but simply intelligence. But at any rate, he had the appearance of being a person that you could talk to, if somehow you could cheat the telescreen and get him alone. Winston had never made the smallest effort to verify this guess. Indeed, there was no way of doing so. At this moment, O'Brien glanced at his wristwatch, saw that it was nearly 1100, and evidently decided to stay in the records department until the 2 minutes hate was over. He took a chair in the same row as Winston, a couple of places away. A small, sandy-haired woman who worked in the next cubicle to Winston was between them. The girl with dark hair was sitting immediately behind. The next moment, a hideous, grinding speech, as of some monstrous machine running without oil, burst from the big telescreen at the end of the room. It was a noise that set one's teeth
These
on...
dystopian writers like Fahrenheit 451. But that's the author's name, Fahrenheit 451. No, like Orwell and fucking
Bradbury?
Match Bear Boy. Yeah, that guy. Oh right, because you're in the smartest English class ever. Right?
You know it.
Hey, but Google, am I stupid? Right. They love to like just really agitate it up with machines bursting with oily grimaces and all the stuff.
There's so many oily machines.
Yeah, so many oily machines that bursted. Like, I wish that at some point there was, like, a machine that was just, like, real nice. Like, his name was Bill. Or, like, Ethan from Infinite Warfare.
His name is Bill.
But I could, like, ask Bill, like, what you know, like, Google. Use him as Google. And he'd say something, and I'd be like, oh! You're so right! I don't know, it's not funny. And I don't know why we say it.
It's
But
so
it's
funny.
it's just, like, the thing we say. You're so right, Bill.
edge and bristled the hair at the back of one's neck. The hate had started. As usual, the face of Emmanuel Goldstein, the enemy of the people, had flashed onto the screen.
The ultimate Jew. Is that intentional? Was
It
Orwell
might
an
be.
anti-Semite?
Oh, maybe he is. What is this movie?
Just in the 40s?
I don't know. Oh, that
Late
might
40s,
be.
early 50s, something like that. I don't know. He did look like a pedophile, though.
Yeah, he did.
There's nothing more flavorful than a Jewish pedophile. I think I don't know what we're talking about.
I don't think we're talking about anything.
That's good.
There were hisses here and there among the audience. The little sandy-haired woman gave a squeak of mingled fear and
A
disgust.
squeak?
Goldstein was the renegade and
What is
backslider
it
who
mingling with?
once,
More
long
fear?
ago, how long ago nobody quite remembered, had been one of the leading figures of the party, almost on a level with Big Brother himself,
Is
and
that a
then had
person?
engaged in counter-revolutionary
I thought he was
activities,
just some dude with
had been
eyes.
condemned to
Big
death,
Brother is,
and
yeah.
had
Isn't he just
mysteriously
like an eye boy?
escaped and
Just an eye.
disappeared.
He's like the Sauron in Lord of the Rings.
The programs of the 2 Minutes Hate varied from
Wouldn't
day
it be
to
funny if Big Brother was actually just like a brother? Like he was just a very large brother. Like they took all of everyone's brothers and then just put him into one dude. And so he was a very large brother. Maybe he's so tall that he just stands in the ocean and looks at people. Like he's like like he's a large brother.
I thought you were going in a different direction with that.
No, what if they just had like a bunch of brothers? These big brother. You get the drift?
I do now, but I thought you were going to go in a different
Where'd you think I was going with it?
like a black man.
Oh no!
Ice and shine.
He's a big brother. You know, brother's looking at you. That's funny. You're racist. No,
Oh.
you'll die.
Oh, I'm going to get canceled.
During Black History Month, my 2 viewers will have you.
Your two
By the
viewers
way-
are us.
It was a suicide. No, it was a self-administered homicide. He was racist, and he knew it. He wouldn't stand for it. What was I gonna say? I was just gonna say something. I don't remember what it was.
By the way, and then you started talking about suicide.
Oh, yeah, the Orwell video got more views than the Snowflake video did in like 12 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was
Actually
impressed by that.
Huh.
I mean, I think.
Actually watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Ember to watch it.
Oh, really? What'd she think?
I don't know. I told her to watch it at like 1 a.m. last night. And then she responded at 7:30 this morning, like, I watched the first 20 seconds of it, and then I had to do something else. So I'll
Yeah,
listen later.
The Moby Dick one, that one was fun. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed doing that one. I'm excited for that man to get back on his bullshit.
day, but there was none in which Goldstein was not the principal figure. He was the
like how he said
primal
that.
traitor,
Figure.
the earliest defiler of the party's purity.
Guilty.
All subsequent crimes against the party, all treacheries, acts of sabotage, heresies, deviations,
I'm laughing at
sprang
the idea
directly out of
that
his
the party
teaching.
is just like an actual party.
Somewhere or
with
other,
music and
he was
drinks.
still alive and hatching his conspiracies, perhaps somewhere beyond the sea, under
Yeah,
the
the future's
protection
of
of
the
his
party.
foreign paymasters.
It's 1985.
Perhaps
so-
even, so it was occasionally rumoured, in some
in the
hiding place
description
in
of all the videos,
Oceania
I'm just saying,
itself.
I'll put the title again and just
Winston's
featuring
diaphragm
future.
was constricted.
Whichever.
He could never see the face of Goldstein without a painful mixture of emotions. It was a lean
Fear,
Jewish
with more
face,
fear.
with a great fuzzy aureole of white hair and a small goatee beard. A clever face, and yet somehow inherently despicable, with a kind of senile silliness in the long, thin nose,
Do you
near
think
the end
goatee-
of which a pair of
goatee is an
spectacles
acronym?
was perched.
It's like greatest
It
of all
resembled
time,
the face of a
LOL.
sheep, and the voice too
Yes,
had a
Kennedy.
sheep
Yes.
Goldstein was
Greatest
delivering
of all
his
time.
usual venomous
Should I start
attack
rocking
upon
a
the
goatee?
doctrines
Yes.
of the party. An attack so exaggerated and perverse that a child should have been able to see through it, and yet just plausible enough to fill one with an alarmed feeling that other people, less
It was his
level-headed
penis.
than oneself, might be taken in by it. He was abusing Big Brother. He was denouncing the dictatorship of the
Isn't
party.
he a camera?
He was demanding the immediate conclusion
Hey,
of
what? He was abusing Big Brother. Alright.
peace with Eurasia. He was advocating freedom of speech,
That's my
freedom of the
idea.
press,
Oh, yeah.
freedom of assembly, freedom of thought. He was crying hysterically that the revolution had been betrayed, and all this in rapid polysyllabic speech, which was a sort of
Okay, let's not
parody
get
of
Moby
the
Dick on
habitual
us.
style of
Or
the orators of the
Google
party,
guy.
and even contained newspeak words. More newspeak words indeed than any party member would normally use in real life.
No, I'm imagining.
And all the
Sorry,
while,
party.
Lest one should be in any doubt as to the reality which Goldstein's specious claptrap covered, behind his head on the telescreen there marched the endless columns of the Eurasian army, row after row of solid-looking men with expressionless Asiatic faces who swam up to the surface of the screen and vanished, to be replaced by others exactly similar. The dull, rhythmic tramp of the soldiers' boots formed the background to Goldstein's beating voice.
She's a whore, but goddamn can she play drums.
Before the hate had proceeded for 30 seconds, uncontrollable exclamations of rage were breaking out from half the people in the room.
Okay.
The self-satisfied sheep-like face on the screen and the terrifying power of the Eurasian army behind it were too much to be borne. Besides, the sight or even the thought of Goldstein produced fear and anger automatically. He was an object of hatred more constant in either Eurasia or East Asia. Since when Oceania was at war with one of these powers, it was generally at peace with the other.
Oceania.
But what was strange was that although Goldstein was hated and despised by everybody, although every day and 1,000 times a day, on platforms, on the telescreen, in newspapers, in books, his theories were refuted, smashed, ridiculed, held up to the general gaze for the pitiful rubbish that they were. In spite of all this, his influence never seemed to grow less.
Do you mean decrease,
always
or like
there were
cease,
fresh
or,
dupes
or,
waiting
or
to
grow,
be seduced by
grow
him.
less?
A day never
Exactly what
passed when
he's saying, grow
spies and saboteurs
Okay.
acting under his directions were not unmasked by the thought police.
The thought police?
He was the
You're
commander
making
of a vast
shit
shadowy
up.
army, an underground network of conspirators dedicated to the overthrow of the state.
It's like
The Brotherhood,
someone's like
its
trying to
name
make
was
a new
supposed to
album.
be.
It's like, these songs don't exist.
There were also
You're
whispered
making them
stories
up.
of a terrible book, a compendium of all the heresies
I'm
of
starting to
which
think this book is
Goldstein was the
fiction.
author, and which circulated
Really?
clandestinely
Yeah.
here and there. It was a book without a title. People refer to it, if at all, simply as the book.
Dun dun
But one knew of such things only through vague rumours. Neither the Brotherhood nor the book was a subject that any ordinary party member would mention, if there was a way of avoiding it. In its second minute, the hate rose to a frenzy.
No!
People were leaping up and down in their places and shouting at the tops
had
of their
these cocktails
voices
now?
in an effort to drown the maddening, bleating voice that came from the screen.
The guy's a woman now. You read this book? No.
The little
these
sandy-haired
cocktails.
woman had turned bright
The
pink, and
cocktails
her
make
mouth
you
was
switch.
opening and shutting like that of a landed fish.
I was
Even
doing that
O'Brien's
earlier. I
heavy
was like,
face was
transition.
flushed. He was sitting very straight in his chair,
No,
his
I was
powerful
doing a thing where I was
chest
singing a song,
swelling
but like
and
switching
quivering,
between like
as though he was
as far
standing
an
up to
octave
the
as I
assault
could
of a
go.
wave.
It's like on and on.
The dark-haired girl behind Winston had begun crying out, "Swine! Swine! Swine!" And suddenly she picked up a heavy Newspeak dictionary and flung it at the screen. It struck Goldstein's nose and bounced off. The voice
His
continued
nose is impenetrable!
inexorably. In a lucid moment, Winston found that he was shouting with the others and kicking his heel violently against the rung of his chair. The horrible thing about the 2 minutes hate was not that one was obliged to act a part, but, on the contrary, that it was impossible to avoid joining in. Within 30 seconds, any pretense was always unnecessary. A hideous ecstasy of fear and vindictiveness, a desire to kill, to torture, to smash faces in with a sledgehammer, seemed to flow through the whole group of people like an electric current,
This is a
turning
weird party.
one, even against
Very
one's will,
weird.
into a grimacing, screaming lunatic.
Hey girls, let's go smash faces with
And yet the rage
sledgehammers.
that one felt was an abstract, undirected emotion which could
Let's
be
get
switched
smashed.
from
Let's
one
get some
object to another,
dictionaries and throw them
like
at
the flame of
Goldstein's
a blower.
stupid nose.
Thus,
That
at
sounds
one
so
moment,
fun, Becca.
Winston's
Let's do
hatred
it.
was not turned against Goldstein at all,
Look at her
but on the
sledgehammer.
contrary, against Big Brother, the party,
Big
and the
brother.
thought police.
He's a good figure.
And at such moments, his
It's
heart went out
Oceania.
to the lonely, derided heretic on the screen, sole guardian of truth and sanity, in a world of lies. And yet the very next instant, he was at one with the people about him.
He was at
and
one?
all that was said of Goldstein
am I
seemed to
stupid,
him
or is
to
that
be
not what he
true.
said?
He said he was at one. I think
At those moments, his secret loathing of Big Brother changed into adoration,
Say it means something.
and Big Brother seemed to tower up, an invincible,
That's right.
fearless protector, standing like a
I
rock
just got
against the
guided.
hordes of Asia. And Goldstein,
Who's
in
Asia?
spite of his isolation,
Your age.
his
Okay, good.
helplessness, and the doubt that hung about his very existence, seemed like some sinister enchanter, capable by the mere power of his voice of wrecking the structure of civilization. It was even possible, at moments, to switch one's hatred this way or that by a voluntary act. Suddenly, by the sort of violent effort with which one wrenches one's head away from the pillow in a nightmare, Winston succeeded in transferring his hatred from the face on the screen to the dark-haired girl behind him. Vivid, beautiful hallucinations
So it's
flashed
like,
through his...
it's as if you're watching The Sopranos and you hate AJ. Like, God, I hate AJ as a character. Then you just turn to your wife and you're like, now I hate you too!
I wish I understood, because I haven't seen Sopranos.
Oh, well, AJ, he's like an annoying son that the dad is like, huh, you don't like cereal? Now you get a broken car. And he's like, oh no, I'm going to college in the fall! And he's like, that's okay, he's pouring cement. I think, you know? You understand? You get me?
Yeah, I get you, man.
That's good.
I
That's,
get you.
I'm glad my drift could be considered caught. How much longer do we have of chapter 1?
11 minutes.
Alright, well, we could finish it out and then we could go Moby Dick. I do much
We
prefer
could.
that one.
I
This
really
one,
like-
this one I'm sitting here and actually like sort of listening to it as a book.
Yeah, but Moby
So-
Dick is just funny.
Yeah, Moby Dick is just like...
That's great.
I want to get into it. We should probably look up a summary of what Moby Dick
Yeah.
is. Like, the first 2 chapters of Moby Dick to figure out what's going on. 'Cause right now, all we know is that there's some black guy taking bites out of raw cow.
And he's not gay. He doesn't want to sleep. Wait, no.
No.
The guy doesn't want to sleep with the black guy.
He's a harpooner.
He doesn't want to sleep with the black harpooner.
Listen to his name. A harpooner? There is not a less straight profession than that.
Pretty, can you please?
his mind.
Thank you.
He would flog her to death with a
I was
rubber
struggling with the
truncheon.
controller, not like whatever
He would
that
tie
sounded
her
like.
naked to a stake and
Can you
shoot her full of
please?
arrows like Saint Sebastian.
What?
He would ravish her and
Oh.
cut her throat at the moment of climax.
Jeez, what the fuck?
Better than
Kinky!
before, you realized why it was that he hated her. He hated her because she was young and pretty and sexless, because he wanted to go to bed with her and would never do so, because round her sweet, supple waist, which seemed to ask you to encircle it with your arm, there was only the
Which one?
odious scarlet sash, aggressive symbol of chastity. The hate rose to its climax. The voice of Goldstein had become an actual
His hate
sheep's
is
bleat,
busting.
and for an
Range
instant,
bust.
the face
This has to be
changed
range
into that
bait,
of a
yeah,
sheep.
well.
Then the sheep face melted into the figure of a Eurasian soldier who seemed to be advancing, huge
Does he
and
have great
terrible,
hips too?
his submachine gun roaring and seeming to spring out of the surface of the screen, so that some of the people in the front row actually flinched backwards in their seats. But in the same moment, drawing a deep sigh of relief from everybody, the hostile figure melted into the face of Big Brother. Black-haired, black-mustachioed, full of power and mysterious
It's
calm,
Mario.
Sounds
and
like you
so
want-
vast
Yeah.
that it almost filled up the screen. Nobody heard what Big Brother was saying. It was merely a few words of encouragement, the sort of words that are uttered in the din of battle, not distinguishable individually, but restoring confidence by the fact of being spoken.
Caption, you should put featuring future.
Then the face of Big Brother faded away again,
And AIDS.
and instead,
AIDS, the
Yeah.
the
disease
three
AIDS.
slogans
Yes,
of the
it's featuring
party stood
AIDS.
out in bold capitals. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. But the face of Big Brother seemed to persist for several seconds on the screen, as though the impact that it had made on everyone's eyeballs was too vivid to wear off immediately. The little sandy-haired woman had flung herself forward over the back of the chair in front of her.
Why?
With a tremulous murmur that sounded like, "My saviour," she extended her arms towards the screen. Then she buried her face in her hands. It was apparent that she was uttering a prayer.
There's a lot of face wearing in this book.
Yeah.
At this
moves
moment,
the hands.
the
Yeah.
entire group of people broke into a deep, slow, rhythmical chant of B.
Me and you could probably empathize with that one kid now.
B.
He's about to get shot, and he's like, "Well, I'm going out happy."
Over and over. Very
He's
slowly,
like 4.
with a long pause between the first B and the second, a heavy, murmurous sound, somehow curiously savage, in the background of which one seemed to hear the stamp of naked feet and the throbbing of tom-toms.
The throbbing of tom-toms?
For perhaps as much as 30 seconds, they kept it up. It was a refrain that was often heard in moments of overwhelming emotion. Partly, it was a sort of hymn to the wisdom and majesty of Big Brother. But still more, it was an act of self-hypnosis, a deliberate drowning of consciousness by means of
How do you
rhythmic
get
noise.
self-hypnotized? Who are you
Winston's
controlling? Yourself?
entrails seemed
Isn't that
to
what
grow
you already
cold.
do? And
In the
with
2
this, I
minutes
will have
hate, he
perfect
could not
control
help
over
sharing in
me.
the general delirium. But this
Walk
subhuman
magic.
chanting,
Look, I'm
B.
making myself walk.
B, B,
It's amazing.
B, always filled him with horror. Of course, he chanted with the rest. It was impossible to do otherwise. To dissemble your feelings, to control your face, to do what everyone else was doing, was an instinctive reaction. But there was a space of a couple of seconds during which the expression of his eyes might conceivably have betrayed him. And it was exactly at this moment that the significant thing happened. If, indeed, it did happen. Momentarily, he caught O'Brien's eye. O'Brien had stood up. He had taken off his spectacles and was in the act of resettling them on his nose with his characteristic gesture.
Before realizing he had one
But
of his
there was a
eyes
fraction of a second when their eyes met. And for as long as it took to happen, Winston knew. Yes, he knew that O'Brien was thinking the same thing as himself.
Let's fight!
An unmistakable message had passed. It was as though their two minds had opened and the thoughts
He
were
is
flowing
insane.
from one into the other through their eyes.
Yeah, he doesn't have freedom.
I am with you, O'Brien seemed to be saying to him.
Whoa.
I know precisely what you are feeling. I know all about your contempt, your hatred, your disgust. But don't worry, I am on your side.
Your butt circumference.
And then the flash of intelligence was gone, and O'Brien's face was
And
as
it was replaced with a new
inscrutable as
flash.
everybody else's. That was all, and he was already uncertain whether it had happened. Such incidents never had any sequel.
What are you doing?
All that they did was to keep alive in him the belief, or hope, that others besides himself were the enemies of the party. Perhaps the rumors of vast underground conspiracies were true after all.
They don't want us to
Perhaps
be beer
the Brotherhood
pong.
really
Enemies
existed.
of the party.
It was impossible, in spite of the endless arrests
Such a
and
teenager
confessions
around
and executions, to
Our
be
I-
sure
our
that the
IQs
Brotherhood
dropped
was
by
not
like 20
simply
points.
Some days he believed in it, some days
I'm
not.
very stupid.
Yeah,
There
like,
was
what
no
do you think society's
evidence,
gonna be like in
only
20 years that
fleeting
around you? Like, let's
glimpses
talk
that
about
might mean
these
anything
gay
or
guys.
nothing. Snatches of overheard conversation, faint scribbles on lavatory walls. Once, even when two strangers met, a
Rectal
small
botany?
movement
Or
of the
no,
hand
laboratory
which had looked
percussion?
as though it might be a signal of
All great
recognition.
professions.
Rectal botany? No.
It was all guesswork. Very likely he had imagined everything.
Gynecological archaeology. That's
He had gone back to his cubicle without looking at O'Brien again. The idea of following up their momentary contact hardly crossed his mind. It would have been inconceivably dangerous, even if he had known how to set about doing it. For a second, 2 seconds, they had exchanged an equivocal glance, and that was the end of the story. But even that was a memorable event, in the locked loneliness in which one had to live.
Oh, I think you messed up.
Winston
doing
roused
thinking.
himself
Sounded like it.
and sat up straighter. He
I
let
love
out a
how
bell.
often John
The
Bond
gin
messes
was
up. He actually
rising
messes
from
up,
his
like,
stomach.
Once every
His
other
eyes
song
refocused on the
recording,
page.
you can actually hear it. It's like, oh, that's...
He
fixed
discovered that
himself
while he
immediately,
sat
like a quarter
helplessly
second.
musing,
But it's like,
he
oh,
had
that wasn't
also
right.
been writing, as though by automatic action.
Redo it.
And it was no longer the
Well,
same
yeah, well, it might be
cramped,
the least
awkward
he
handwriting
messed up
as
all day.
before. His pen had slid voluptuously over the smooth
Oh, yeah,
paper,
she was-
printing in large,
Oh, is this
neat
the one with the creamy
capitals.
book?
Yeah, this is like
Down
Oh,
with
that's right.
Big
and the
Brother.
Chinese rice.
Down with
Oh, did
Big
you get the
Brother.
video I sent you?
Down
Yeah.
with Big
Oh,
Brother.
that was great.
Down
Wait.
with Big Brother.
The Chinese one?
Down with Big Brother. Over and over again,
These people are
filling
going
half
down.
a page. He could not help
Big
feeling
Brother's
a
going
twinge
down.
of panic. It was absurd,
You know,
since
brother
the
lost
writing
a
of
butt.
those particular words was not more dangerous than the initial
No,
act
no.
of opening
Oh,
the
there was
diary.
a Chinese one.
But for
Hold
a
on,
moment,
after this ends, I'll
he
send
was
it to you.
tempted to
Okay.
tear
It
out
was
the
so,
spoiled
it was so,
pages
like,
and
the
abandon the
stuff you say
enterprise
was really
altogether.
funny.
He did not do so, however, because he knew that it was useless.
Did
Whether
he?
he wrote down with
Did he?
Big Brother, or whether he refrained from writing it, made no
It's
difference.
like Elijah going, pause.
Whether he went on with the diary, or whether he did not go on with it, made no difference. The thought police would get him just the same. He had committed, would still have committed, even if he had never set pen to paper, the essential crime that contained all others in itself. Thought crime, they called it.
Thought crime.
Thought crime was not a thing that could be concealed forever. You might dodge successfully for a while, even for years, but sooner or later, they were bound to get you. It was always at night. The arrests invariably happened at night. The sudden jerk out of sleep. The rough hand shaking your shoulder. The lights glaring in your eyes. The rain of hard faces round the bed. In the vast majority of cases, there was no trial, no report of the arrest. People simply disappeared, always during the night. Your name was removed from the registers. Every record of everything you had ever done was wiped out. Your one-time existence was denied and then forgotten. You were abolished, annihilated.
Yeah, me and your both sitting here like,
Vaporized
wow,
was the usual
that's just
word.
profound. How do
For a
we make
moment,
it gay?
he was seized by a kind of hysteria. He
Basically.
began writing in a hurried,
That's why I'm
untidy
excited
scrawl.
for Moby Dick. it's quite easy to do.
It's got
it.
dick in the name!
I don't care, they'll shoot me in the back of the neck. I don't care. Down with Big Brother. They always shoot you in the back of the neck. I don't care. Down with Big Brother.
Yeah, you said that.
He sat back in his chair,
I don't
slightly ashamed of himself, and laid down the pen. The next moment he started violently. There was a knocking at the door. Already? He sat as still as a mouse, in the futile hope that whoever it was might go away after a single attempt. But no, the knocking was repeated. The worst thing of all would be to delay. His heart was thumping like a drum, but his face, from long habit, was probably expressionless. He got up and moved heavily towards the door.
Oh, that's where
Chapter
he dies.
2.
No.
Shut up.
That's funny. Okay, how long was that one?
This one was 33 minutes.
Alright, boop Johnny.
Whoop it. Dick time.